Okay, Kate, you can begin.
Okay, thank you. I will call the June 27, 2022 Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting at 5:31. And we will do a roll call. Mark?
Here, yeah, I'm here.
Brad?
I'm here.
Val?
Here.
And Narcy?
Yes.
And I'm here too, so, okay. The board appreciates community members sharing information during public comments. The public comments should be submitted through the designated form on the webpage to be read by district staff or registered Zoom participants who indicated through the form they wanted to provide their comment live. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, as is the protocol for board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about school district personnel are not allowed at this time. When it is your time to share your live comment, your name will be called and the district staff will connect you to the meeting. Please state your name and relationship to the district before you read your comment. At this time, we'll do the flag salute. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisibly, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We will do introductions of the audience and staff, please.
John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent.
Kevin Noreen, HR.
Enrique Piñon, Technology Department.
Is that everybody?
I think we have Elena Santana also.
Okay.
And let's see, Eileen will be right here. We were finishing a meeting, so she'll be on in
I'm
a
here.
moment.
Okay.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Hi, Elena Santana, Literacy Pre-K 6 Coordinator.
Okay. All right. Approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All right. We'll do a roll vote. Narcy?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. Correspondence and celebration. Dave?
So I'll just kind of wrap it all into my superintendent comments all together here. So most of our staff have gone out and kind of started their vacations. But today was the first day of summer school, and we had over 1,000 students participate in summer activities. 1,000. Summer school, it was basically Echo Shaw, Cornelius, Joe Gale, Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong was at Tom McCall East, and then Tom McCall was running their summer stuff at Tom McCall West and the high school. We've got CBAP, Summer Skills Academy, ODE summer programs for grant for grades 1 through 8, ODE academic recovery at the high school. So there's just a lot going on. I had a couple of folks were out at release time. The kids were coming running out of the school towards their parents, and they were asking, "Did you have a good day?" And kids were excited, having fun. So it was a good first day of summer school. So there's some challenges that we're having with that, in that we're ending school, and then this huge, I mean, it's 20% of our total enrollment is at this, and we're rolling right into summer school. We've got Jumpstart right before school starts. So it's really squeezing the amount of time we have to kind of prep for next year with facilities, busing, and the rest. So it's great. I'm really excited it's going. There's a lot of participation going on. It's also challenging. So we're off and rolling though. So, and like I said, for the most of our staff now, they're kind of getting ready to start some vacations and some rejuvenation time. So, and then for a bunch of our staff, they're back into summer school, so their time will come. That's kind of what's going on in the district right now.
Thank you. Student rep, do we have a student rep yet?
Not quite. She'll start sometime either late August or early September. Is that right, Kathy?
Okay,
Yeah, correct. It's Miley.
okay,
She filled in for us a while ago.
right,
Yeah,
right.
so that'll be great.
How about calendar notes, recognition, superintendent report? Is that all you, Dave?
That's all. I just kind of did that piece.
Oh, you did that?
Yep.
Okay. Unscheduled public appearances. So I will read this. No, I guess that's not, do I read that now? No. Okay, I'm sorry. The consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Included tonight are several housekeeping items that must be approved for each school year and are typically approved in July. We are able to complete these now because there are no new board members elected for the next school year. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Second? All right, discussion? Okay, Brad,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
and Narcy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. All right, our first presentation tonight.
I think
will
I
be-
think, hey,
Yeah.
Kathy,
Yeah,
are
we missed the public comment, Kate.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I've got this out of order here. Do I have it out of order?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I got it out of order. Okay, I'm sorry. Well,
Do we
I
have
don't
any
see
public
that-
comment?
We
yeah,
have 6.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay,
don't
we'll go
see
ahead
where I
and hear them.
have, I don't see where I have the thing, the text to read for this. Kathy.
You read
Can
it at
read
the very,
text?
you
read it
read it
at
at the
the-
very beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, I read it already. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's go to, sorry, I
That's okay.
just think that,
It's okay.
all right, it's
David
okay.
Warner is still finishing up a meeting, so I'll read what we have.
Okay.
So the
Okay,
first one
thanks.
is, the first one is from
Go ahead.
McCarver. As a parent in the Forest Grove School District, I am writing to voice my support for the school board to reinstate the school resource officer contract. I believe that the school resource officer plays a very important role in our community by mentoring, teaching, creating partnerships, building relationships, and ensuring school safety. Please consider these benefits. The work of the SRO committee and the majority of the student voices also support it. Thank you for your consideration. The next one is from Laura Tripp. Having just finished one of the most harrowing school years of my life, my family and I are curious to know what is being done to combat the abysmal state of most of the schools in our district. I know school rankings aren't everything, but the fact that most of our elementary schools are riding strongly at one should frankly freak more people out. This is not a place to name specifics, but based on our experience at Joseph Gale, we would have been forced into private school had we not gotten into the community school via the lottery. The only school in the district with a decent score is the charter. I feel guilty for all of my son's friends who are trapped at that school. When I complained at a parent-teacher conference that his reading scores were far below grade level, I was told that he was keeping up with his peers. It's not okay that everyone seems to be okay with our kids failing so hard. I am ready to step up. I'm ready to show up. I'm here, kind of, sort of, you know what I mean, to help change the things for my son and the thousands of kids in our neighborhood who deserve an opportunity to learn how to read just like everyone else. Okay, the next one is from Jennifer Scoffler. I still do not understand why are we campaigning and voting to reinstate the SRO in our schools? This should be mandatory. My child nor anyone else's safety should not be left up to a vote. Let's end this decision and begin planning for the 22-23 school year with as many SROs as there are schools in our district. This one is from Mary Abishar. Our schools must be safe and feel safe for our students, teachers, and parents. SROs are a vital part of safety for our kids, and we need them in our schools. Not only are they there for the safety of our kids, but also to provide support and guidance. Helping children by creating positive interactions with SROs throughout their education will build a strong relationship within the community. Knowing that these officers are here to protect our children while they are at school would be a huge relief to me as a parent. In these stressful times, it is something that would bring peace of mind. Thank you for your time. Susan and Tom Morris. As educators ourselves, it has always been our belief that our first priority is the safety of our kids. Without feeling safe and secure, how can the children learn? How can they maximize their potential? It is with the belief that, I can't read very well, in mind that we support the presence of the SRO in Forest Grove schools. Beyond the safety they would provide, we believe SROs can be a positive role model, providing guidance as well as support for children as well as staff. Thank you. And the last one is from Michael Abshir. Hello, I am a parent and resident of Forest Grove, and I am concerned there is no school resource officer program in the Forest Grove School District. As we move further away from the COVID pandemic, I want Forest Grove School District staff and administration to rededicate themselves to providing the type of education which prepares our young people for adulthood, both mentally and physically. Our children and educators need school resource officers available for their safety and to provide guidance and service for our most precious and vulnerable people while they attend school. I work as a policeman for a neighboring agency and have done so for about the last 9 years. In that time, I have never been a school resource officer, but I have investigated incidents on school property of child abuse, sexual abuse, rapes, drug crimes and overdoses, thefts, assault, and computer crimes, revenge porn involving students, mental health crisis, and a host of other crimes and significant incidents. It is just an unfortunate fact of the world that we live in. With the ease of access to the internet, social media, and narcotics that our kids are exposed to, more crime and less safe than we were when we were in school. We must be wise and address this. When I send my children to school, I can't protect them. I need you to do that. It is my expectation that we hire a school resource officer immediately. Thank you. And that's all of them.
So Kate, I'd like to, we're going to talk about the SRO coming up, so I'm not going to, I'll wait and we can talk about that later in the agenda, but I did want to address the comments by Mrs. Tripp and just say, we, the administration, are acutely aware of the work that needs to be done to ensure that every student is getting the rigorous instruction that they need. This is urgent work. It's actually the center of my conversation with administrators last week. After 2.5 years of kind of pandemic survival, our administration is committed to making student progress. This will start with the new curriculum that's coming up on the agenda today. It'll continue with us aligning the MTSS systems that identify when kids need extra or need intervention. And then it's also going to be dependent upon restoring kind of the professional development and collaboration that we didn't have this year. So we're very aware of where kids are at and what we're going to need to do to move forward. So I just want to make sure that I said that publicly, that yeah, that's the number one thing that we're thinking about right now.
Thank you, Dave. If there's no more comments, I will move on to the presentation tonight on instructional vision survey data.
Perfect.
And that's you, Dave?
That's me. Let me get this started up here. Let's see, hang on. So I'm going to move through this pretty quickly. We'll share this with you so you can see the data down if you want to see all of the data. But I wanted to get back to you right before school got out, but really the end of May, we pushed out a survey again to kind of find out where folks were at. 4 years ago, we did this work and we had thousands of responses, and we used those responses to basically this was the question we asked. Think about a student walking across the graduation stage who's ready to successfully transition and navigate the world beyond high school. What skills, mindsets, behaviors do you want that student to have? It's the same question we asked 4 years ago, but having been through the pandemic, we wanted to check and make sure and see about, did things change with people's perceptions? And this was kind of the work that we did 4 years ago. The words on the right are all words that our community members and our staff members used. And then we kind of grouped them around these three maxims: community, resilience, preparedness. And we came up with our three maxims: care deeply, stand strong, adapt and grow. And those have served us pretty well in our organization so far, as we've begun to try and kind of map out who we are as an organization and what we're trying to do. What we've been missing is we need to start translating this into the classroom. Like, what do we see? What are the student attributes that we want kids to have? And what are the behaviors that we want to see in classrooms? So that's why we pushed out a new thought exchange, and we set out some time for our staff to actually take this, our certified staff. And so we had basically, of this, 541 participants, 838 separate thoughts that people entered in, and over 14,000 ratings. This is kind of the breakdown. We had over 90% of our licensed staff actually provided feedback to us. We had a real hard time trying to engage parents. The first time around that we sent it out, we had only under 50 parents kind of respond with it. We pushed it back out 2 other times to try and get these 163 parents. We didn't really give it to administrators, and we didn't really do students. So there's not really a whole lot of representation there. I'm going to have some screens down as we go through this. It shows you that what's really interesting is it was mostly what we found out is it reinforced what we found out 4 years ago. It really hasn't changed a whole lot, but we were able to start drilling down on what some of these student behaviors and instructional methods might look like. We're basically split pretty even, 340 elementary, and we've got about 297 kind of at the secondary level. So fairly equally balanced between the two. This is kind of our breakdown by race. We're definitely in this one overrepresented by white, and I think that has to do with the 300 of our staff members. We're about 28% staff of color in our district. So having such a large number of our teachers weigh in, I think in some ways wasn't as representative. I'm going to show you some screens later on where we're going to show that the parents that did provide feedback and the various races that they actually agree, they fall into line with what we heard before. So I'll show you that coming up here. Questions so far and kind of what we're doing. So from that, from those thought exchanges, what we found was basically the 3 highest rated thoughts that came out of this was around resiliency. It's the mindset of not giving up when faced with a difficult task. Critical thinking helps students make sense of the world and respond appropriately. And then this life skills, budgeting, reading contracts, personal responsibility, that do you show up on time? Do you do the work that's handed you? All 3 of these were, again, things that came up the last time that we went out and talked to folks about this. This is kind of the graph of the different themes. So taking all of those thoughts and trying to theme them, what we saw is this is the total number of thoughts that were put in. So the largest number of thoughts was around perseverance. So our staff, our parents, The largest number of thoughts was perseverance. The next was kind of academic, mental health, and life skills. Critical thinking is third. Empathy, adaptive growth mindsets. Personal responsibility, again, is that last topic that I talked about. Communication skills, this is really literacy, reading, writing, speaking. Confidence, resiliency, and then equity-minded. Now, if we don't look at just the total number of thoughts that were put in, we look at how they were rated. Here's kind of what we found. The resilient thoughts were the highest rated ones that we had. Critical thinking, empathy, perseverance. I think perseverance and resiliency are really highly related. Adaptive growth mindset. This collaborative, again, scored very high. Our kids being able to be into groups and work with each other productively. Communication skills, personal responsibility again, and then we've got academic, mental health, and life skills. And then I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, but I've got I wanted you to hear some of the actual thoughts that folks entered in so you can kind of see what some of these things mean. Under resilience, here's some of the thoughts: the ability to bounce back from failure, navigate and manage difficult emotions, and act with hope for the future. Students need to be able to trust that they can meet challenges and keep going. So that's kind of the tenure of this resilience. Critical thinking. I love help students make sense of the world and respond appropriately. This next one I thought was really interesting. The modern world is full of more data and more misinformation than ever before. Easily accessible 24/7. What is important? What is helpful? So they're talking about how do our kids manage all of the data coming at them, and do they have the skills to be able to do that? Compassion, empathy, kindness. Have you looked outside? Despite this huge increase in production capacity, we're a society of uncompassion and disempathy. We're in a social world. Leading with kindness goes a long way. Perseverance. Life throws us into situations that are difficult at times. Students need personal tools to be able to deal with these situations. Adaptable, flexible mindset. This is important because change is constantly happening. Being able to be flexible and help them navigate through life. Collaboration. All areas of life, work will require you to work with other people. Even if your thoughts aren't the same as others, how do you collaborate? Teamwork. Communication skills. To be successful in any part of life, you need to be able to communicate effectively, verbally, or written. Communication is important because students have to advocate for themselves and navigate adult relationships. I know I'm going through a lot of stuff here, but I just wanted you to hear some of these words. Personal responsibility was a big one. Adults need to have integrity, be contributing members of society, because humans should operate within their communities with a level of intentionality and responsibility for their actions. So of these themes that came up, what we did is we started to map what the themes were on the right-hand side: resilient, critical thinking. These are all those things that I just went through: perseverance, personal responsibility, communication. And then I broke it out by the different groups that actually took this, so we could kind of see what was important to different groups. In the center is our certified staff. And you can see that resilience, critical thinking, really the top 10 are some of their highest, most important items. And then you can look at the parents and see that they agree that resilience, critical thinking, perseverance, personal responsibility, communication are all in those highly important pieces. Then I broke it out by race, because I wanted to, I know we were underrepresented in our Hispanic group around this. So I wanted to kind of see what they were thinking was important versus what our other racial groups are. And again, what I want you to see is basically our Latinx group is feeling the same way that our white group is feeling, as far as some of the top elements, the things that are important, these student attributes. And then I broke it out just by, that was race and that was everyone. So that was our staff and our parents. But then I just broke it out by our parents, by race, just to see if that looked different. And again, I think what you can see is our parents are for the most part in agreement around these top themes as being very important to them. Critical thinking, perseverance, empathy, academic mindset, the adaptable, flexible, communication, personal responsibility, resilient. So what I'm taking from all of this as we are kind of moving through this is we're looking now, we've got these themes and we're bringing a group together to begin to kind of plan out how do we begin to, we know that critical thinking is one of the highest, most important things that folks want to make sure that we have students learning. And so we need to now begin to sit down with folks and start talking about what does that look like in a classroom? And so when we walk into a classroom, what would it feel like? Which of these attributes do we want to make sure that we identify and then begin to kind of look for the look-fors? And so that's the work that we're starting on this summer. We'll identify the main student attributes that we should focus on in our classrooms. We'll begin working collaboratively with staff members to identify kind of what does it look like in a classroom? If we're talking about, let's say, communication, which is literacy, and critical thinking, what would that look like in our classrooms? And what are the behaviors that I should see students doing in classrooms? What are the teaching behaviors that we see? And then we'll begin to align that across the district is kind of what the plan is. And I know that was fast, but I wanted to kind of give you an overview of kind of what this data came back and looked like. And I could take questions now if you have questions about what some of this looks like.
No questions for Dave tonight?
I might have overwhelmed you. I went pretty fast with it, but I didn't want to go too slow with it, but
Yeah, that's okay.
I will say I was really relieved that we basically, the same thing that we heard 4 years ago is kind of, we're still hearing that same information around communication, critical thinking, empathy, this resiliency, perseverance piece, the personal responsibility. We're still hearing those same themes. So now we'll start building it into our classrooms.
Yeah, just a comment. I think curiosity is a real important piece. The curiosity about how things work, and so that would have been one of those that I would have thought would have been a little bit higher, but it's still on the list. So I think that's great.
We're having a really interesting conversation about curiosity because again, it is important and we want kids to, so we're trying to kind of figure out where it fits in the conversation with some of these other attributes. So it's an interesting conversation right now. Elena, I know she's got her camera on. She's also working with us, and Cassie's been doing a lot of work around this. So that's what we'll be kind of taking out.
Okay, no questions. I'm going to move on. The next one is action items, and the first one is the bond levy resolution. And Dave, you want to talk about that? Or
Yes. Hang on one sec here. I'm okay. At the last meeting, we presented information about the bond resolution. We ran listening sessions across the district. We sat a bond committee. The bond committee has done its work and it's created this draft of bond resolution. This resolution is for not more than $145 million. It also outlines our submission to the state machining awesome grant for $6.6 million. It appoints Delafield and Wood LLP as the district's bond counsel. And it also sets up Piper and Sandler as the district underwriter through this process. We will go back out and do some more polling near the end of July or the beginning of August to kind of drill down on this bond, what the bond is for, what is the amount, and how the voters are feeling about it. There's language in this resolution that allows the district to adjust minor language without substantially changing the intent of the bond. In the event that the polling identifies that significant changes need to be made, the resolution and the ballot title will come back to the board for further approval. I wanted to point out the lowering of the bond tax rate since the last presentation, with further discussion with Piper Sandler and adjusting the potential bond sale into 2 sales rather than 1. It creates some slight savings in the levy rate, dropping it from $4.17 per $1,000 to $4.11 per $1,000 assessed value, while maintaining the $145 million bond package. So with that, I will open it. Eileen is here. So if you have questions that we can answer about kind of what's before you, we can do that.
So Dave, if the bond doesn't pass in November, can we bring it back in the spring? If we understand why it failed?
So yes, there'll be a new timeline. I don't know the exact timeline for May, but there would be the next, we would go through another process and kind of figure out what those timelines are and then figure out when it is that we want to come back with another bond. I will say our goal here with this polling would be to really figure out what our voters want and to make sure that what we're putting in front of them meets those needs. So I think all of you know this is a challenging environment right now. So we really want to do some listening right now to figure out what it is that our community is going to tell us about this and then make some decisions about that.
So,
Eileen, I don't know
yeah.
if you got any more.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, so I was gonna ask, so what you're asking us to take action on tonight, after, I mean, I think I'm probably reviewing just what you said, Dave, but after the polling is done over the summer months, it can be changed and brought back to the board in late August or early September. Is that what I heard you say?
It wouldn't be that late.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Got it.
the polling is supposed to happen at the end of July, 1st of August.
Okay.
And this resolution allows us to do minor tweaks, nothing
Okay.
substantial, nothing major. If in the polling, something happens where we do need to make a tweak that is more substantial for the language, then we would
Right.
need to bring that back to the board in early August, because
Okay.
we have some reporting deadlines. I think the first one is August 15th. So
Okay.
well before that, we would have to bring it back.
Okay. Okay, because I think the polling is going to be pretty, pretty telling, I think, and we'll have to see what that says and what we do next. So, yeah, that's what I was wondering about. Thanks.
In the polling, we will do some testing on amounts.
Yeah.
What really voters, what's very important to them, so that we can kind of do some of that. So we'll get some of that information back.
Okay.
And in this resolution and proposed ballot title that is before you tonight, this is based on the last polling that was completed of the community and from the Bond Development Committee. So it does have and incorporates all of that work that has been done and the community polling. We just do know that, things have changed a little bit since that polling was done.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that what we're bringing to the community is as current as possible.
Okay.
Eileen, I have one more question. Does the previous bond sunset and then this is a new bond, or no?
The previous bond has sunsetted. So
Okay.
we've seen a drop in our levy rate over the last 2 years. And so this would then backfill. It is an increase from what today is because that bond has sunsetted already. But it would backfill and then add just a little, it would add a little bit to that. So I think the total levy rate is $4.11 in this $145 million package.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Any other questions for Eileen or Dave? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay, further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also, motion passes. The next action item is literacy adoption, and that's,
That's me.
Lena.
That's me. Yeah, so last board meeting, I brought to you the recommendation of the committee and the administration regarding our pre-K 6 English and Spanish curriculum adoption. So tonight I'm bringing it forth to you as a second time as an action item. The administration recommends the literacy K-6 adoption as listed below, and I believe this is in your materials. We are recommending the adoption of Frog Street, published by Frog Street for pre-K literacy curriculum. That's a 7-year subscription, English and Spanish dual language for $40,000 not to exceed. And we are also recommending for adoption the core knowledge language arts known as CKLA and its 6th grade counterpart ELA for English grades K through 6, and Caminos, which is the Spanish K-5 curriculum. Both are an 8-year subscription not to exceed $706,500. And all other instructional materials related to professional development is also included in those price points.
questions? No questions? Okay. I will make the motion to approve the literacy 6 adoption as stated by Elena. All three, Frog Street, Core Knowledge, and I think, and the instructional materials included the cost related to professional development from the publishers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Brad,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Narcy,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also, motion carries. The next item up for action is the revised 2022-2023 school calendar. And that's John.
Yes, thank you. So I'm just going to go ahead and screen share real quick. You have this calendar before you this evening. This is a second read. This is what it looks like with those changes that we've identified or are recommending. The whole purpose of this is to provide necessary professional development time, 2 full days to support the lit adoption that we just approved. And so what this looks like is previous to this change, this was a classroom setup day, only 2 days for pre-service, in-service, and then classroom setup time on that Thursday. And then we would jump into the first day of school. That will still remain for 7-12 grades, but what we're proposing is that this September 6th change or so that this classroom setup day becomes the 3rd day of in-service. So we'll have 2 full days committed to just literacy adoption. And then this would be the classroom setup day. And on the 7th of September, that date would be the first date for grades 1 through 6. And then that Friday on the 9th, our traditional pre-K and kinder students would start. And just this, again, What we're doing is switching days. This was a non-student day, half-day grading, half-day PD for grade 5, 6, and a full day grade PD day for PK 4. And what we are doing is swapping that day. So that will be for those grades, a student contact day to make this day a classroom setup day and provide the time that we need for the literacy adoption. Are there any questions?
So John, can you remind me what on that day in October 21st was going to be I know you've answered this before, but it was going to be what, a PD/grade day. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Mark, absolutely. For 5, 6, that's a half-day grade,
Yeah.
half-day PD.
Okay.
For grades PK4, it's a full day PD day.
PD. Okay.
And so what we wanted to do, and the union supports us, is, add that up front, and then that for those grades becomes a student contact day.
So when does the grading? Did I hear you say 5, 6? It's a half day grading.
Yes.
So where does that fit in? Or
great question. Thank you. That we're going to be very flexible, and the union really liked that flexibility.
okay.
For grades 5 through 6 that week, they can either have 4 hours half-day sub release, or what they could do is take a half-day sub release on that Friday, or what we could do is pay them 4 hours to do the grading time on their own, and then the grades would be due along with all the rest of their peers. And they really appreciated that level of flexibility, because right now to ask teachers what they need would be premature.
Okay. And we think that if a number of them do take a half day sub, we think that subs won't be an issue at that point. Or,
we are
see,
definitely going to monitor that.
Right. Okay.
And that's where we're having that conversation. I just had it with Summer Johnson, and we're not sure where the teachers are. It's individual.
Okay.
We want to provide that opportunity that week for 4 hours, half day sub release if they need it. Any other questions?
Okay, thanks, John. I appreciate that information. So we need a motion. I'll make the motion. I move to approve the revised 2022-2023 school calendar as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Narcy?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also.
Thank you.
All right, yes. Okay, our next item is School Resource Officer Intergovernment Agreement. And Enrique, is he the presenter?
Nope, that's me.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Let me get set up again. Stop. Okay. Tonight, we're going to bring you the intergovernmental agreement between the school district and the city of Forest Grove to contract for an SRO. On June 13th, I went through all the stipulations. I went through the contract piece by piece. We negotiated that with Val and Narce, and the chief of police and Jesse kind of walked through everything. We added in the pieces that folks wanted. Some of those were some more information under the goals and more information in the data and accounting. But when we ended, we were at an agreement that this was the IGA that we felt like would do the job for this first year. It's been a couple of months since we presented the data around this. So I just wanted to remind folks of kind of what we heard from the committee. Again, we went out, we did a survey with the social studies classes. That's a class 10, 11, 12, where all kids have We offered kind of roughly 1,300 students an opportunity to provide feedback on this. We had about 708 folks take us up on it, and they responded. The basic gist is about 56% of the respondents of the 708 were students of color, and about 39% were not in the BIPOC group. From that, 80% of the kids, which is like 400 students, 80% of those said, yes, they believe the SRO is important to have on campus. From our non-BIPOC group, it was 82% of the students. So there's a clear supermajority of students who, in both of these groups, who believe it's important to have it on campus. Wanted to review for you again, kind of the impacts that we're seeing. We've had this year over 20 different officers who responded to calls. All of these officers have different abilities, affinity, and success in working with our students. We currently don't have any input into what that officer, who the officer is that's impacting with our students, what their training is. We're impacted by availability. Right before school got out, we had a situation where we couldn't get a police officer because they were short-staffed that day to deal with some things. So again, this is important to us, why we're looking for this. There was some comments about having the SRO increasing juveniles in the juvenile justice system. That hasn't been what we've seen. Of the 122 students who have been assigned a juvenile counselor, only 3 of those students were adjudicated related to events in school or an SRO. So not having a dedicated SRO has left us with really inconsistent interactions. And that's kind of what I'm bringing to you tonight. Is we've been through a long process. We presented the data, but the fact of the matter is we need to have input into the selection and the training of this officer. We need them to be trained in trauma-informed practices, equity, anti-racism, de-escalation techniques. This is why we're bringing it back to you. We also know there's some students, 20% of our students in both of our BIPOC and not BIPOC groups, 20% of those students weren't comfortable with this. So we also know that we have work to do to make sure that those kids feel comfortable and that we're building, that we're addressing their concerns and building relationships. So with all of that, that's why we're bringing to you this IGA. And so I would take questions now if you have them around this.
I don't have a question, Dave. I just want to point out that I think it's great you surveyed the students, but the majority of those students did not have any experience with an SRO on campus. They were basically being told from whoever what the SRO role was, but they did not have any actual experience because of COVID. So I think that survey is a little skewed, just to put that out there.
So I will say that I don't disagree with you because we've been in COVID for 2.5 years. So again, at least half of those students haven't had the experience of having an SRO. But I do want to say that that's why we kind of did some work with them before we just handed them the survey. I don't think it changes the point that at least half of those students haven't had an interaction with an SRO. But just again, we were trying to do that.
Yes, and I hope what you were telling them that the SRO is going to do and does do is true.
Yeah.
Any further comments or questions for Dave?
Yeah, I have, Val and I were part of the intergovernmental conversation with Dave, Jesse, and Henry. And we are in a very political situation with our country, and then the optics also of what we do and what we decide as board member, I think is important. So I think that there's still a lot of And I understand, our parents and students wanting to have their children, feel safe at school. And I agree with that, but I do think that we do also have to be attentive and know that the SRO cannot fix everything, and that we are dealing with systems issue. And I know that we've talked about this before, and really clarifying what do we do is a district with threat assessments. And I know that, there's more counselors that have been hired and, more staff, so forth and so on. But it's still unclear to what does that threat assessment look like. I understand that there's a group of people that could come together and talk about a threat assessment, but I challenge us to look at sophisticated tools in assessment threats that are embedded within the system. And they are out there. Nabita is one. It's a big one. I have used that professionally for institutions I've worked at. They're not 100% perfect, but I do think that the tools that we also have or will have or don't have, I don't know. That's something that I don't know yet exactly, that I don't feel 100% confident saying, yes, we have a threat assessment. I want to know who's going to lead that threat assessment. It can't be the SRO by himself or herself or they, or maybe I missed all of that, but I don't think I did. And I just don't want us to be naive, thinking that an SRO will fix that or rectify that in any shape or form. There has to be accountability from administrators as well to assure that this is being led and it's being led correctly. Also, opportunity to look at what other school districts are doing in place of. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Thank you for listening.
So I
Yep,
got a,
Brett.
can I
Oh, I'm sorry.
respond? I just want to cover a couple of things. One is that, so we have a behavioral safety team. It's long-standing. It utilizes the same techniques that came out of Kaiser and the Salem School District around threat assessment. So it's they're the ones doing all of the training around here for K-12 threat assessment. So I feel, and I'll have Cassie come in and present on it, because this is led by Cassie and her team as a behavioral health and wellness coordinator. So we have a very strong history and use of this team, utilizing some of the cutting edge practices. So I will say, I just wanted you to know that that is happening and has been happening. I will say we've struggled this year because usually the SRO is one of the team members. But this year we really struggled because we couldn't really get the police, the attendants to that team. So that's been one of our challenges. The accountability for admin, I totally agree with. We built this IGA for me to create that framework. And so that is something that I'll be working on. So I'm happy to, again, have Cassie. I'm curious about the organization you talked about, because if there is a way for us to improve our practice, we want to do that. So I will get a hold of that name and have Cassie provide some feedback on what that might add for us.
Brad, did you want to have?
Well, Dave, that was what Dave just went over was my comment. We've had that threat assessment process in place for at least the last 10 years. And Cassie's husband was involved with Salem in developing theirs. And so a lot of the same principles and practices are here. And and Dave pretty much went over exactly what I was going to say. So
sorry, Brad.
Yeah, that's all right.
Sold your thunder.
Yeah, you're good.
So when do we get that data? I haven't seen the data on that.
I'll have Cassie come and present on kind of the team and what they do and how it works.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment? Because I have a comment or two.
Well, I would
Yeah,
just,
I'll say it.
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Val. I was just going to say that I was a member of the committee to look at this, and And I was glad that I was a part of the committee. It was, it was nice to get different perspectives. We had community members and district staff, and yeah, Kate and I were on it and attending meetings, and it was a lot of thought and a lot of conversation went into the committee work and the recommendation that came out of the committee. And so I appreciated being a part of the committee. That's all I was going to say.
Thank you, Mark. Val, did you want to say something else?
No, you can go ahead, Kate. Thanks.
Okay. So, my thoughts are, I have a couple of thoughts. I was on the committee on the SRO, and I will say this, that I think it is critical, and I also think it's essential that we have a designated individual to look out for the safety of our staffs and students. The SRO committee and also Dave, they put a lot of time and energy into looking at this matter related to the SRO at the high school. It is a complex issue, and each person has their own perspective and expectation. I would have preferred a full-time, my recommendation would have been for a full-time safety officer and also a proactive threat assessment team like Kaiser. And even though Dave has mentioned and Brad has mentioned it, I haven't seen the data on this. So prior to the last 2 years, I haven't seen it. I haven't known who's led it. But the system that they designed at Salem was to detect and report and respond to threats at the school and maintain a partnership with the local law enforcement. In Salem, they have school staff members, law enforcement, juvenile, and behavioral health professional agencies who sit on the student threat assessment teams. As they are a much larger district than ours, they also have a director of safety and risk management. Their goal is to look at the referrals and evaluate and assess, do we have potential for target aggression or target violence, and to intervene with students well beforehand. Last year, Salem had 251 risk assessments in their schools, and it involved a conversation with the student at the first level. At the second level of assessment included 63 students. That number may sound high, but the staff at Salem Kaiser feel the system is working because individuals are reporting. It should be noted that there's no guarantee an officer would be at the school at all times at Forest Grove. It also should be noted that an SRO is an employee of the police department and have specific trainings that they must attend. They have vacation times that may not coordinate with our school schedule, and or they may be needed elsewhere at any given time. I have reviewed the MOU and have asked clarification questions and recommendations. However, I do not know how they will meet the training requirements and have the unique understanding of young adults as a proactive threat assessment team has, like what they have put into place in Salem. And so I think we need to have, absolutely have to have somebody, a safety officer, a safety person that would coordinate with the police department. But I don't have any assurances that they're going to meet the needs that we need to meet for our students and staff. And I think I'm in the minority. I was on the committee, and I think I'm in the minority, but I do agree with Val that, and it's very difficult. I'll just say this, it's very difficult to get through a survey all the people that have, that are pro or con on any discussion item that we have. But I am not in support of the SRO. I'm in support of something like what Salem Kaiser has. I know that Beaverton is doing an outside investigation, and their report will come out in July. And I also know that Portland Public is using an assessment team also. So that's just my comments of where I'm coming from. And I've read a lot, and I've been looking at this, and I also am concerned about, all of our students, especially our students, our minority students in our district. So, and At this point, does
So
anyone else?
I'd like to respond to that because again, I feel strongly that safety is very important, but a lot of what I've presented has to do with our system and how it's worked this year without an SRO is that we're calling the non-emergency or the emergency line and having 20 different people show up. We're getting the exact thing you're trying to avoid is the inconsistency in working with our kids is what's happening. So while yes, I am concerned about safety, there's a very much more pragmatic viewpoint I'm trying to put forward here, which is we are hiring a halftime safety officer. We will begin to work on them with preparation. We've had and continue to have a behavioral safety team that is utilizing the people who created it or the same people who created the Salem work. So that is already happening. It has happened. And I realize that if I haven't given you that information, then I need to do that. That's my fault. But I just want people to understand that this isn't, and that data, however you want to carve that, it's still 80% of our students are saying that this was still important to them of both sets of folks, whether it's students of color or white students. So I'm just struggling. I mean, I understand all your points and I know this is very complex and it is a very political issue, but what we're talking about here in Forest Grove and what we've seen this year, I just want to make sure we all understand that part.
Okay. If there's,
Had a comment,
Brad, you
Kate.
want to add a comment?
Yeah, what you just described, Kate, in Salem is exactly what we've been doing here for the last at least 8 to 10 years. Cassie will have to go through exactly how long, but I'm sure that I'm sure the data. I can't remember the last time that they've shared data with the board. It's been a while, but they have presented to the board. It was quite a while ago on the systems that are in place. But I do think, Dave, in terms of safety and continuity, having that many policemen, just from my last role as special ed director, having multiple policemen coming into the situation at our programs, it was tough not knowing who was going to show up on our doorstep when we had an issue. It was a lot more effective when we knew the policeman who was going to show up and they understood who our kids were. So I'm just thinking that we're missing some pieces that are actually going on right now in Forest Grove. And the data's there. And I don't know that we have all the information that we think that we need in terms of that threat assessment, because I know that those pieces are there. Yeah. So that would be my comment.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Narcy, go ahead.
I think we would benefit from looking at data information, what kind of threat assessments, what do things look like now compared to 10 years ago? I know we've had, we've been going through COVID, so things might look a little different there as well. But I think one thing also to consider and think about here, I mean, I'm speaking just from my space, from my lens as a woman of color, is that we're dealing, we would be embarking in a system with the police department that has not historically been friendly to marginalized populations. So of course, I am going to have a distrust. I have a lot of respect for Henry, and I know he's trying really hard. I know he's working on that. I know he's providing his police officers as much equity, diversity, and inclusion, because he's inherited a system where the police academy is not always, may have a different lens and may be obligated to do cultural competency and not cultural humility of treating human beings as they should be. So I just wanted to say that for the record, but I understand that as a board member, we got to look at the systems and I think we just need to understand that we continue to work with systems that continue to be very oppressive towards marginalized populations. And we do have a large number of those kids in our system, and we need to be aware of that they don't always work for them or for us.
Okay, any other comments? So are we ready for a vote? The
You
motion.
need a
I'll
motion
just-
first, Kate.
Yeah, I'm getting there. The motion is I move to approve the one-year intergovernmental agreement as presented for a school resource office with the city of Forest Grove and Forest Grove Police Department. Do I have a second?
I
Second.
second. Yeah.
Further discussion? Okay, Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Darcy,
Yes.
and I'm a no. The motion is passed. The next item is elect school board chair. We need a nomination for board chair.
I would like to nominate Mr. Bafaro for school chair next year.
Mr. Paparo, do you want to do that?
I decline.
You decline, okay. I will nominate Mark Everett. Do I have a second?
Mark, are you
Are
okay
you
with that?
okay with that, Mark?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll
Do I have a
second it.
second? Okay.
Yeah.
So the nomination is for Mark to be the board chair for the 22-23 school year. Further discussion?
I
All
just
those
want
in-
to say this would be the third time. You must be doing a fabulous job, Mark.
He is. He's doing a fabulous
Well,
job. He always
there's-
does a fabulous
We
job.
There's-
really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Well, I
Every-
tried.
everybody's-
arm
yeah.
wrestling-
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm the.
Well,
I
I
tried
thought- I
arm
thought I could
wrestling
speak for
Brad. It
everybody.
didn't work.
I know.
I mean, I tried too, Kate. I didn't win either.
Yeah. Oh, we lose some, we win some. Okay,
Yeah.
let's take the vote.
Okay.
Brad,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Narcy,
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
is that a yes, Narcy?
C, yes.
Okay. And Mark, are you going to vote for yourself?
Yes.
Okay, all right, motion passes. All right, the next is we need a motion. I'll make the motion to, no, I know, I'm not going to make the motion. We need to nominate a
I'll-
vice chair.
I'll nominate
So-
Brad. I'll nominate Brad for vice chair.
Brad, are you willing to serve?
Yes, Kate.
Oh, great, thank you. All right, so we have a nomination for Brad Bafaro as vice chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? We will take a vote. Mark,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Narcy,
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
yes, and Brad, you're a yes. Okay, that nomination passes, so great, we will have a great team next year. All right. So it says here, item 7.
School board meeting
School-
calendar. That's me.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I looked at just school board, I just looked at school calendar and I thought, oh, we've already done that.
So we've,
Okay.
we've got the school board meeting calendar. It's all out. But the only thing we're still working on is finding a date for the retreat. The 16th in the morning didn't work for everyone. So I'm looking, does the 16th in the afternoon work for everyone?
The
August
16th
16th in the afternoon.
August 16th. Okay, let's see here.
Kathy, didn't you send that out in the afternoon?
No,
No,
I sent
morning.
it for the morning, but it didn't work for everybody. So we can adjust Dave's calendar so we thought, well, maybe if that
What
date
time?
would work in the afternoon, and we could do it
What-
from 2 to 5. We could do it from 5 to 7, whatever you want to do. It's
I
just,
thought
know you
Mark
guys are
wasn't
going-
even in town.
No,
No,
Mark,
I will be.
he'll be here for
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah.
And you will be, you said.
Yeah.
Yes,
You guys are like herding cats.
I know.
I was going to say that. So does 5 to 7 work for people?
Or you can do in the afternoon, whatever.
That'd be
works.
fine.
Yeah.
Whatever works. I'm
I
pretty.
have a
open.
commitment in the afternoon on that
Okay.
day. So, but 5 to 7 would work. Would that work for you guys?
Yeah,
On
that'd
the
be fine.
16th?
with me.
So,
Narcy, does that work for you?
Yeah, I'm available after 1 anytime.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect. The rest
All
of it
right.
is in the packet.
okay. Do I
hey,
need
I
to
have a
make,
question about the calendar though.
Yeah.
Do we need to have a meeting in July? I don't remember us having meetings in July.
I have one on there for July 25th, I believe it is. And it will be
I know, I was wondering
virtual.
why.
I
But
put it
why?
on there as a placeholder because of hiring, just in case they need it. If they don't have anything that can't wait till the 1st of August, we don't have to have it, but we want to do it just virtually in case there's anything that needs to be purchased or any hires that we have to get approved. And we will limit it just to that. But going a whole month without, I just want to have it on there just in case.
But the history,
Yeah,
you're
I just
right,
don't
Val.
remember it ever being on.
Go ahead.
We've had them in July before, but usually if we have a new board, we do our organizational meeting where we do the housekeeping things. I just put it in there as a placeholder, just so you have it on your calendar, because sometimes there's something that comes up that we need to purchase, or, I mean, there won't be any presentations or anything. It'll be a very short meeting just to take care of any business that needs to be done,
If we have anything.
if we have it.
yeah. And we could also do it Zoom, couldn't we? We could do
Yes, I was
both.
planning on it only being Zoom, just because that's.
Yeah,
what it
that
is.
makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. All right, do we
Because the
need to
other-
have,
Right,
go ahead.
As long as we
I still
have
have
a
one more.
quorum.
Yeah,
I
we
still
have
have
to have
one more
quorum.
question. We have a date on the Monday of spring break. We usually don't meet on spring break either in March.
Well, I'll leave it as a placeholder. We can delete it if we don't need it.
Well, I just wonder, I mean, do you guys pay the staff to come in and work
we-
on Monday of spring break?
We work that, I mean, we're usually here. You want me to delete it? We can.
I mean, if I'm out of town, I just won't come, but that's up to you guys.
Well, let me
It
ask
just
this
caught me off
question.
guard. I was like, these meetings I don't remember having.
Yeah. So Kathy, when we go back, start in the fall, can we come in person or also do Zoom, either or?
Either or, you'll be able to do both. Well, we'll have the meeting in person in the Grove Room, but if you're out of town or you're not able to get in, you'll be able to join. That's why we got the cameras and we're going to get it all set up. But we also will have the opportunity for people to provide their comment either in person or via Zoom.
Okay. And that would equal, if we came on Zoom, even though we weren't in person, it would qualify as a quorum if we were doing Zoom, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. All right.
So
I'm just,
if you guys want me to delete the one during
yeah,
spring break, we can do that.
I'm
So
thinking
if-
that might be a good idea, just so we
Okay.
can kind of plan those kinds of vacations that we have. I mean, especially the spring break, because it's most likely a lot of the staff won't be around. So
yeah,
that
so
would be
you
my
can delete that
suggestion.
one. And then if you just make that in the motion, we can do that.
Okay, so making the motion that, what is the date for, we'll just
March
eliminate
27th.
what? March 27th?
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. Does someone want to make the motion or do you want me to make the motion?
I move that we accept the board calendar as written, excluding the March 27th, 2023 date.
Perfect. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, further discussion? All right, Mark,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
and Narcy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. Okay, thank you. So future action items. So you can look at those future action items. And then there's also the information on the 2021-2022 restraint and seclusion report, which is included in your packet. And then there's also the Forest Grove Community School Review was included in the packet.
And next year will be the year where we need to do the kind of formal review and a new contract with them, just so you know that we'll start into that process.
Okay, all right, great.
So,
Go ahead, Dave.
So one of the things I see on the calendar there is the NAM's elimination of honors, and I guess I'd like to revisit that sooner
So
rather than later.
it's going to come, Mark, on
Okay.
the first presentation in August.
Okay.
We were kind of playing, it was Juliana is ready to come and kind of present where they're at with their rigor for all piece. We just had to struggle trying to get it in here at the last of the year. So we kind of moved it to that first meeting in August.
Okay.
Any other comments on the future board items? If not, I just want to say on behalf of the board, before we adjourn the meeting, is a thank you to the teachers and the staff for working through the challenges of 2021, 2022. With grace and the love of our students, they just did a fabulous job, and I just want that recognition. Also, I'd like to, on behalf of the board, give some special thank yous to Enrique and his technology staff. Without them, I don't know how we would have ever did this last year and then, this year, and the support they've given to parents, to kids. I just want to say to the department, thank you. I also like to say on behalf of the board, Eileen and the business department for their informative information on the budget, their timeliness, their incredible user-friendly manner in presenting the information. It's just been lovely working with both Enrique and also with Eileen. And lastly, on behalf of the board, I'd like to say our board secretary. She has been just a godsend. Her knowledge, her expertise, and her ability to get the answers when she doesn't have them. And she's done a wonderful job of herding the cats. Thank you very much.
Kate, this sounds like a swan song. Is this a swan song?
let me get out the violin.
Yeah, this sounds like a swan song.
I just think that thank yous are always important. I really do. And those, the whole organization deserves a big thank you, but specifically for the board, those three teams have did incredible job of keeping us going. I don't know what we would have done without our technology department. I mean, I just don't know. But also Kathy, you can always call up Kathy and say, okay, what do we do? She's just
she'll tell you have to meet during spring break.
No.
So if there's no other comments, hey, I think we're going to get out on early. Instead of 7:30, it looks like 6:49. We are going to adjourn the meeting. Have a good evening.
Okay, wait, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for serving as our. our
Thank you for this year, Kate. Thank you.
Well, Mark, you did say to me last July, you said this is going to be an interesting year.
Yeah,
It certainly was.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. I love you. Take
Thank you,
care.
guys.
Okay. Good night.